Hey, it's Emma Romano here, founder of the Thrive and Life Foundation, self-healing coach, and the midwife to your personal alchemy.
I am Kelly Bowen, founder of the Heaven Within Foundation, CEO of Lifestyle Finance Australia, finance expert, life and business coach.
And you are listening to Inspired Conversations,
where we talk about the things that really matter. Yes, we go there.
We share together what's exciting us, inspiring us, and having the most profound impact on our lives and our clients' lives. And we do this to elevate and inspire you.
We cover it all from life, body, love, relationships, trauma healing, addictions, business, money, and all things woo-woo.
So sit back, relax,
and get ready to be inspired and laugh the fuck out loud.
Hello, fabulous people. It's Kel and Em here, and we're here to do some amazing inspired conversations between us.
Yes.
And today we are talking about
triggers.
Hot
topic right now.
Oh, it's huge triggers. So I used to hate being triggered. Whenever I used to be triggered, I would go straight into the blame of that person. That person spoke to me like that. That person's an arsehole. That person's a fuckwit. How fucking dare they speak to me like that? And then consequently, there is absolutely no growth, no healing, no responsibility after that. And you just keep getting triggered by the same thing. In fact, it gets worse and worse and worse.
Yes.
Because
it
compounds. And because you haven't healed the old wound. So triggers is just an old wound that hasn't been healed.
Absolutely.
And what universe will do, whether you call it universe, source, God, energy, whatever you want to call it, will keep giving you the trigger as a gift of the time to, hey, here's a gift, here's an opportunity to heal the wound. But we're trained and hypnotized into going, let's just blame every other fucker out there instead of ourselves.
Yes, they should respect me more.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
What's your experience with triggers, my love?
Well, every time I think about triggers, I always like to go down the nervous system regulation path.
Yes, I love it when you talk about this stuff.
Yes, so my biggest journey over the last probably like 18 months now, more. Let's give it 2 years. Has been learning how to understand my own innate defense mechanism and how it interacts with the world, meaning the external stimulus that comes at me and how it's then processed through my body. And when I first got told about defense mechanisms, I had no fucking idea what they were talking about. I felt it like the bit of like, you're triggered. No, I'm not. That's the defense mechanism, but not really getting the deep levels of what that really means. Now, we all have a defense mechanism, and for us, there's healthy aspects of it, and then there's the dysregulated aspects of it. And for most of us, we're still running around with very dysregulated nervous systems using ineffective coping strategies to try and go through life. And for a lot of us, when you're looking at repeating patterns, whether it be self-sabotage, whether it be certain behaviors within partners, friends, work colleagues, what are the other big, certain like money behaviors or spirals that you fall into, or just certain ways of thinking, it comes from your nervous system being dysregulated and then trying a coping strategy to resolve it, because something has triggered that. And instead of you being in your regulated state where you can easily express yourself, you can articulate yourself, you can talk about your boundaries and your needs, and you can hold and process your emotions, the moment you get triggered and the dysregulation happens in your nervous system, the adrenaline spikes, the cortisol spikes, within 60 seconds you lose up to 70% of your IQ.
Yes.
And like, game's over. So I just want to take a moment to define what I mean by defense mechanisms, because when I got what I'm about to share next, it absolutely fundamentally changed my whole response with the external world and how I experienced other people, and how I personally experienced them, and what I made their behavior mean. It totally changed the whole thing, because I was able to see my part in that and take my own power back for how I attracted that, because until I actually got what I'm about to share next, it was just, I don't understand why people are the way they are. So when we're talking about defense mechanisms and getting triggered, you're going to fall into one of these four, or maybe a couple of these at the same, well, not at the same time, but stages of this when you get triggered. So the first defense mechanism is the fight defense mechanism. And that's where your body will go, okay, it'll look at a threat and it will go, right, there's a threat in front of me. Can I overpower it, whether it be physically, mentally, emotionally? And if it thinks that you can overpower the threat in front of you, it will attack. And it works under the presumption that control equals safety and control equals love. So if ever you find yourself starting to feel a bit feeling out of control triggers you, or not having certainty and clarity, and you find yourself wanting to go on the attack or take control or be a bit dominant or sort of force your will, then this is the trigger of the fight defense mechanism. So then you have the next one, which is the flight defense mechanism. And you've probably heard about this, and the flight defense mechanism is a really great one. It's when you have that moment where you assess danger and you're like, okay, well, I can't fight my way and overpower this thing that's coming at me. Well, can I run away from it? And if you can, you run like hell for the hills, because back on the plains of Africa when we were evolving and, there was a tiger, using the fight to take on the tiger, probably not the smartest idea. Probably ends in death.
You probably get an ouchie.
At the very least. Or if you're lucky, you might spook it, but that'll only happen once.
Yeah.
Then you've got the next one, which is, flight. When you look at the tiger, it's like, yeah, I've got a pretty good odds of if I start running now, I might just get away from it. So you run like hell. Makes sense. And how this shows up in terms of when you get triggered. So some of the typical common tells of a flight style defense mechanism trigger is that you might get a bit anxious, a bit panicky. Addictions come in here. So any addiction vices you might be using, alcohol, cigarettes, coffee, sugar, sex, all of them fall under this category, because you want to outrun the pain, because as long as you're moving, you're not going to feel whatever it was that triggered it in the first place. Another big one here is OCD. It's a very obsessive compulsive defense mechanism. So it wants to keep going. And as long as it can keep going and keep moving, it will feel safe. The moment it stops, it's like, ugh. So a lot of workaholics.
Yeah, that's where I fall. Mine was, I went alcoholism and workaholic. And I loved, before that it used to be drama.
Yeah, drama totally falls under this.
I could create drama out of a look. I was really good at it. Just anything to run away from, give me adrenaline, things like that was crazy. Sorry, Kel, keep going.
No, keep going. That's perfect. So when, I think too, if there's any personal examples as I go through these that you want to add in, I think it really gives it depth. Even when we were talking about the fight defense mechanism, it's underpinned, when it's completely dysregulated, it can be very narcissistic. So narcissists, that kind of behavior is a fight style defense mechanism, because if it's all about me and the control's on me, then it's the control equals safety, remember? Control equals love. So with the fight style defense mechanism, it's got to keep moving. It's more of a obsessive compulsive actions. The ones, all the things have to be in the right place, and the routines, and if anything gets moved out of that little sort of scope, it can really throw their nervous system. And it's driven by perfection equals safety, or perfection equals love.
Which you've also got to come from, if you've got someone, if you yourself is like this, or somebody in your life is like this, you got to have some compassion, because they're coming from a trauma response.
Yeah.
And us getting triggered, if we know somebody like that, we often go, I'm triggered, they're hurting me. But if we go into compassion of, actually, they're not hurting me, they're running the fuck, or they're trying to fight out of a traumatic situation.
And I just pressed that button. So, and it's when we can start to see, and this is why I'm sharing in this level of detail, because when I started to see this and I noticed, because I wouldn't necessarily think I was triggered, but I lived most of my life in fight.
Mm-hmm.
Triggered all the fucking time. My nervous system was totally dysregulated all the time, but I didn't know that because it'd become accustomed to me living like that. And then if something really pressed my button, that would go next level.
Yeah.
So we're giving you sort of like the depth and like some personal stories within them, so you can identify that it's not just when somebody, like a trigger, somebody presses your button in the moment. It's also all of these other little behaviors that might seem harmless that you do when nobody's watching, but these are signs that there's like little triggers going on, or something in your environment where your body's trying to tell you something's not quite right here and you're not fully aligned to what's going on.
Yep. Do you know, I've got a story, if you don't mind me just sharing this. So my grandmother passed away last year. She was 100. And the family were quite convinced she was a narcissist. And the more I go into learning about trauma, especially meeting Kel, like I'm the PTSD trauma queen of getting rid of it. And it was pretty amazing how I was able to help my family know that my grandmother wasn't controlling because she didn't trust them. My grandmother wasn't a narcissist because of them. She was that way because of the trauma from her childhood of not being enough.
Yep. That's exactly it.
Yeah. She was full of shame. Shame of not being loved the way she needed to be loved from her mother. Shame of not being loved by the way from her alcoholic father. Her mother was great, did all the great things, but she was boarding from the age of 6. Mm-hmm. She didn't know how to mother, and there was a great sort of jealousy. It was funny, this came up last year with my mum. I said to her, because my grandmother was great with me, but I also knew how to play the game. Mm-hmm. I got the best out of her. I knew if I fed her ego, I got the best out of her, because all she wanted was to be told a few things. She's beautiful and she's amazing. There were 2 things. She had to know that she was beautiful. Mm-hmm. So she would be against anybody who she thought was more pretty or more beautiful than her. Yep. My mother. Mm-hmm. My mother is a very beautiful woman. Very, 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 my mother is very capable. My grandmother wasn't. So it would trigger the shame in my grandmother that she couldn't do things as competently or as well as my mother. So my grandmother would try and shame my mum and say things like, "You're just like a man. No one will want you. You're fat. No one will like." So she tried to squash her and bring her down so she could have importance herself.
Yep. And so it is very, very, that's like textbook for the fight style defense mechanism, which is narcissistic at core, to bring others down, to boost up self.
Yes.
This is the trauma.
Exactly. And my father's the same. So my father could never boost somebody and say, "Hey, Bob's doing well." It'd be, Bob's not doing, Bob's a dickhead, Bob's an idiot, oh, Bob should be doing, and it was always pulling somebody down, or he'd do the or the no offense but.
Just slap in the face.
Oh, your mother's a great mother, but, and I'm like, oh, here we go. So it's that kind of, that tall poppy syndrome. Mm-hmm. When you don't want to be too good for your boots.
Yep, don't be too big for your boots.
Don't be too big, you've got to come down a peg or 2, you got to do that. So when you can step back out of your problem space and go, hang on, why am I being so triggered from this person? Because if you keep waiting for that person to change, you'll be waiting a long fucking time, and you have missed again the train. You missed the train to fucking healing.
Yep.
Simple as that. Step out of it and go, what kind of trauma? Is there a shame that I've got? What agreement have I got to this? Mm-hmm. What is this feeling for me? Mm-hmm. And if you find you're reaching for the packet of chips or the ice cream or the glass of wine or the smoke or whatever, there is some fucking trauma there that you're running away from.
Yeah.
Because if you've got an addiction, you are running away from a trauma.
Yeah.
And you're probably too scared to feel it. Now, most of my clients say, I'm too scared because if I feel it, this is the big trauma, right? You ready for it? If I feel it, and I go down, who's gonna pick me up? Well, I got news for you. You are. Because when you feel it, feelings come through us. You're leaving it in you. You allow it to flow through you. Get help. Reach out to Kelly and I. We have got people who can help you.
We've got like Rolodexes that say, you tell us your problem, we'll either fix it for you or send you to somebody who's an expert.
We have over 350 freaking people in our Rolexes and then some, right? Combined, probably 1,000 people. You're not supposed to do this on your own.
No.
But when you can sit in that space and go, hang on, it's not Kelly who's triggering me. There's a wound I've got that's open that Kelly is just, this is how I explain it. Kelly's the salt, right? So if she's triggered me, pretend I've got a cut on my hand and there's an open gash. Kelly's just the salt. She's just the salt to see if it hurts or not. If there's no cut there, if there's no wound, it doesn't hurt. If there's a wound, I go, oh, ow, oh, I need to fix that cut. That might get infected. Because that's all it is. You've got an infected wound that you just keep freaking ignoring.
Yep, and you attract salts and lemons.
Exactly, right? Exactly. So this is your perfect opportunity to go, ooh. So if Kelly's to say something or do something that triggers me, this is the difference. This is when you know you're in your growth zone. This is when you know you're at a much higher frequency. Shit, thanks, Kel. Ooh, that didn't feel so good. I wonder what I need to look at there. And that's when you can go in, and that's when you are so powerful. That's when you switch your power on. It's because it's not your boss that's pissing you off. It's a wound in there. Because if you find your bosses might be only pissing you off, and may not be pissing every single person in the office off. It's because they don't have the same wounding as you.
Yep. And it could be as simple as a tonality.
Yes.
A certain tone. Tone would set me off too. There's certain tones that particularly like, it doesn't matter masculine or feminine, but a particular tone that my dad used to use on me all the time. And if I heard it, like it would literally just crush my nervous system. And I would feel so deeply wounded or so deeply unsafe from it until I started doing the healing work around it to not be so triggered by that particular tone. And there's no emotion in the particular tone that does it, there's no emotion in it. And the thing is when I can't read emotion, and we'll go into this when we go into the next two defense mechanisms, but for me particular, the one that I would fall into is that, and you fall into this one as well, Em, where it's the one where we become very empathic and very aware of our surrounding environment and what's going on for everybody else emotionally, because we learned how to manage other people's emotional needs, because when we managed them, then they were okay, which meant we would be okay and we would be safe. So we become highly astute to everybody else's emotional needs.
People pleasers, codependent.
Rescue our hero, savior.
Rescue, wounded healer. You've heard them all.
Yeah. So we'll come into that in a second, but with that particular one, when I would hear that tone, I would know, like, I'm like moments away from him going postal when that tone would come in, and also there's no emotion in it, so I can't read it. So and that would send my nervous system to like, or if somebody spoke to me like that, it would trigger that, and I'd be like, fuck, I'm gonna die, something like really bad's gonna happen. It could just be somebody who's busy, and rather than like, I asked a question, I got a very direct answer, very relevant to the thing. There was no emotion in it, but when I had that wound active, that would trigger me into a lot of unsafety.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to hear the next two though.
Yeah, okay, so we're going on to, so the next one is freeze. Now, freeze is a really awesome defense mechanism from the perspective that when it's healthy and when something comes at you and you take a moment to freeze really still and actually assess the situation of, okay, well, am I safe? Am I not safe? Then it allows you to buy time to formulate an appropriate emotional response. However, when this is dysregulated and you go into freeze, it's because your body's already gone through the first two. Can I fight this and overpower it? Nope. Can I run from it? Nope. So the next thing is, well, what if I just stand real still? What if I stand super still and I totally freeze and hope I'm just not noticed, and whatever that danger thing is just keeps walking by? So those that experience deep depression is that this is a very dissociative defense. So what happens with the flight style defense mechanism, it dissociates in a way that you feel numb, but you can still be highly functioning. With the freeze defense mechanism, the dissociation happens in a way that you completely collapse, but your brain produces opioids. So you collapse but feel kind of high at the same time. And the reason that your body does that is because back on the plains of Africa, when we were evolving, if we were being chased by a tiger or a lion or whatever deadly thing was, when it caught us, our body would release mass amounts of opioids. We would go into freeze, into this paralytic thing, to hope that one, it already thinks it's dead, it doesn't maul us anymore. If it does maul us, we don't really feel it. So what happens when we experience something that makes us feel that unsafe that we drop into that, that's what's going on within the brain. But this can look as come out as like couch potato, hermit, extreme introversion, complete collapse, not being able to take care of yourself, chronic fatigue. Like we're talking complete nervous system collapse, like can't get out of bed, deep depression, suicide. Like these are or suicidal ideation. This is what comes when your nervous system is in complete freeze collapse.
See, I believe, this is my train of thought, that all autoimmune diseases come from,
I agree.
from this.
Yep.
100%.
Yep.
Because why was I diagnosed with 4 different autoimmune diseases within 2 weeks, and now I don't have any of them?
Yeah. Well, you'd literally run your nervous system from flight until it wouldn't run anymore into complete collapse.
Yeah.
And the only way...
exactly how I did life.
And the only way that your body could rest was if you had some kind of extreme illness. Here you go, Emma. Now rest, please.
Yeah, that's exactly, and my whole life I've been like that. So it wasn't like I just had appendicitis for 2 weeks and then I'd get the operation. It was, shit, they're about to burst and she's had her first pain 2 hours ago. You know, and I would have these big opera. I had a hysterectomy at 39 and, you know, all these big things would happen. I never had just the common cold. It would be
a big thing.
Fuck, she's got pneumonia, she's about to die.
Hospitalized 5 days. Like,
yeah, you know what I mean? Yes. Yeah, exactly. It was the only time that I was actually allowed to rest. And I remember being a child saying, I really like it when I'm sick because I get to watch movies then. Yeah. What agreement is that?
Right.
Oh, what did I do to myself?
I remember you telling me, and you might have even mentioned it in the first episode we did together, about how one of your sons, I think it was Ben, used to say, Mummy, I like it when you're sick because you watch movies with me.
Yeah. Yeah, he said to me, because I love it when you're sick. And I was like, what? And he goes, you're still. And I went, whoa. Because I was never present.
No, you wouldn't, not if you got all that flight.
Because you're hyper alert. So, you know, I always had to be hyper alert growing up in my household. You know, it was either really fun or it was quite aggressive. Yeah. You know, it was quite dangerous and aggressive.
Yeah. So that's freeze. It's to be safe, you have to hide. And the hide and be small and not seen is the freeze. But when it's healthy, it's great because it allows you to buy time to create a response as to whether you want to fight, flight, or the next one. Now, this is my go-to.
I love this one. This one's great.
Now, when I got this, so I knew about people pleaser and I knew about the doormat and I knew about all of these things, but I never had an umbrella to put it under and I never got at the depth that we're about to share with you. So this next one is called Fawn. And it's, Pete Walker talks about all of this in his book, CPT.
Oh, I've got it.
Let's show it. Complex post-traumatic stress disorder. From surviving to thriving. It, like, in terms of understanding this and the depth of it and trauma and really, like, what to do with these triggers, it's fucking amazing. Revolutionized my whole understanding of it. And also the course I did with this incredible woman called Freya, I don't know how to pronounce her last name, but called Pleasure After Trauma, like really helped with this stuff. Anyway, so fawn. Now, the underlying thing that's underpinning fawn is that for me to be safe, I need to merge with another person. And the way that it was created within the nervous system was if the let's just say a village is about to become ransacked and you are a mum with 2 little kids, pregnant, and who knows what's happened to dad, he's been killed. and you're like, fuck, what do? I've got to try and protect the survival of me, my unborn child, and my 2 little kids. So, fawn is the next option because you can't fight them, you can't run away from them, and you can't be still long enough for them not to notice you. They're going to notice you. So what do? You try and merge with the aggressor to make yourself valuable to that person to either minimize how much you get hurt or avoid being hurt. So it's also, you might even hear it talked about in psych circles, like tend and befriend is another way that this is spoken about. But essentially with fawning, I find it shows up in 2 ways. There's the underfunction and then there's the overfunction. So the underfunction is doormat, people pleaser, very subservient, very like, I will totally forego anything that might be important to me to please you kind of thing. And then you've got on the overfunction side of thing is the rescuer, the hero, and the savior. The ones that love to swoop in and save the day to feel really
I was such a fawn.
Yeah, me too. I got the trophy.
Oh my god. I reckon my trophy's bigger than your trophy. I'm not kidding. Do you know, it was when I went through that whole healing myself of MS and finding out all these emotions that I had. I've got to tell you something. You know, I was blind in my left eye, and the neurologist said I had such bad damage to my optic nerve that I'll never get my sight back.
Wow.
And I remember going through this process, and it was a letter to my father, and I was like, Father, fucking blah. And I just got all these emotions out, but I also sent him, I had to write a thank you letter to him. And I couldn't believe it. After that process, my eye came back. And it was during this process that I realized how badly I was in fawn, because I didn't even know what color I liked.
Mm-hmm.
If someone said to me, hey Emma, what's your favorite color? I'd go, Kel, what's yours? And you might go, purple. Go, oh my God, me too. That's crazy.
Yeah, we have no preference in fawn. There is no preference because it's dangerous.
I had no favorite food. I had no favorite color. I had no favorite football. I had no favorite anything. I always had to see it would be whatever yours was. Mm-hmm. Whoever I was with.
Yep. And it's also, this is more common in women than it is in men, because also from an evolutionary perspective, we would want to appease and meet the needs of the tribe so that they kept us safe and didn't kick us out, because we were the physically more vulnerable of the masculine feminine. So we would forgo our needs to please men so they would protect us when the tiger came. Same with the women, because we would forgo our own personal preferences and like be very collective about the group, because if we went different to the group, even though we might be best friends at lunch, but if the tiger comes at dinner and we're no longer best friends, women don't have team honor and loyalty like men do. They'll just feed you to the bloody tiger. Like, see ya.
Yeah, it's so true, right?
But
yeah.
So we would all fawn together and forgo our own personal needs to create safety. Merge equals love. And the other thing about it that I want to put in, and I can't remember what it was. It's come to me twice, and I was talking about something else.
Wait, it's just there. You ready? I've got it.
Nah. Anyway. No, it'll come. I'll keep talking and it'll come.
You could have made something else.
I could have made something else.
You could have just gone, oh fuck, Emma, you're really good at that. I just make shit up. I'm like, oh, that's what it was.
Sorry, babe.
Fuck.
Teamwork, we're working.
I ain't fawning with you anymore.
Clearly not fawning. Oh, hang on, we're almost there. You almost gave it to me.
Oh, we're not fawning?
About fawning, about not having any Right, resentment. So here's the other thing. Here's the other thing with fawning, is it because and this is what destroyed, so when I look at, so fawning and fight go together, like it's narcissist and the victim, but it's not, you're not a victim, because what's going on is that you're allowing anybody who's got a fight defense mechanism stronger and overpowering you forgo your needs each time to try and manage their emotional experience.
Yeah.
And every time you do that, it puts a little seed of resentment in your heart. And the person who's more loud and aggressive gets to express all of the things that they feel amazing, but you've just got a seed of resentment. And then it happens again. And you play the same strategy, and at the beginning it's not a big deal, right? It's so not a big deal. You do this shit in your sleep. It is so easy for you, and you like seeing them happy. So you do what you need to do. It's another seed of resentment in your heart. before you know it, you've got a whole fucking forest of resentment and wondering why you can't open your heart anymore. And it's because you never expressed what you needed. Because partly because you didn't really know, because you'd been playing out this fawn program the whole time. And secondly, because you were too afraid to express it because you didn't want to deal with somebody else's hurt or upset. And that, because when you express your truth and your needs, and that creates upset in another person, it'll throw your nervous system out like you won't believe. And you'll be like, why do I feel so anxious, or like so, like, you wouldn't call it triggered, because you would feel, it's more like it is triggered, but you feel vulnerable, you feel anxious, you feel on edge, you feel like you're dying 1,000 deaths, because in you letting them sit with their feelings, it goes against the very backbone of what fawn is made up on, which is, I need to make your needs my needs so that I know that you're okay, because when you're okay, then I'm okay. And if you're not okay, I am definitely not okay. Yep. And you've just said a truth that you know that other person might not be okay with. So you've got to sit with it. So when you're actually healing this and doing the deeper work on this part, then it feels worse than it does good at the beginning until you start to build the muscle. It's like going to the gym. You do it once, you're not going to get any results. But there was something that I listened to by Simon Sinek saying, but if you believe it's the right course of action and you do it again and again and again, day after day after day, then you will build that muscle. No different to the gym. If you believe getting fit and healthy, going to the gym is the right course of action, you go every day, you will get results. And that's the biggest thing with fawn. And fawn can be really healthy. So it's not about like, this thing's shit, I'm never going to use it again. It's every defense mechanism has its healthy aspect. So fight, for example, allows you to be confident. It allows you to assert your boundaries. It allows you to go after what you want. And it allows you to also aggressively protect yourself if needed in appropriate situations. Flight, when that's healthy, it allows you to leave situations that there's no good going to come out of. You can just leave without having any emotional attachment to it and be like, not my monkey, not my circus.
Exactly.
Right? And that's a really beautiful thing to have. Freeze healthy allows you to assess a situation and create an appropriate response and not be in reaction. And then fawn, when it's healthy, it allows you to create really deep, rich, and soul-nourishing relationships where you can just as easily and as equally express your needs and boundaries with confidence. So in terms of like when you're looking at triggers, I always like to go, okay, so what part of my defense mechanism is activated right now? And what do I need to give myself to bring safety and regulation? And sometimes it's that simple, often it is a lot deeper. And then I've worked with somatic experience people to really help renegotiate some of these things with my body, because my mind might be okay, but my body was just like, ugh.
You know what? This is where I want to say that the biggest and best form of any healing is when you're using the 5 dimensions of the body. So it's conscious mind. So you're educating yourself. Like we're educating you now, right? And it's the unconscious mind, because that's where all your programs are. And it's the energy body, but also at a cellular level. Because you've got 70 trillion cells which all hold habits and memories. And then you've got to do the soul work. And this, if you want to do the 5 dimensions, then contact us. That's what we do. That's what I teach all my practitioners to do, is the 5 dimensions. It's not going to happen in 1 hour. And I tell you why. Because the unconscious mind will only give what it can handle at that time. When you're under the 3rd and 4th program, it's about 8 sessions. When you do the 3rd or 4th session, your unconscious mind will go, I now know I'm safe with this person to allow this. So if you get to someone that go, yeah, we can do that in an hour. Bullshit. Because I can't undo 51 years of fucking crap in 1 hour. You just can't.
It's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. But if you really want to have deep healing, or even learn these programs, contact me, private message me, or email me or Kel, and we'll talk to you about the programs that we sell and practitioners, or if you want me as your practitioner, I would be honored. I would be honored. I would be honoured.
Yeah, and I just want to like reiterate on what you said there about this isn't going to happen overnight, and this safety piece. So when we're talking about triggers, right, we only get triggered because we feel unsafe.
Yeah.
Ultimately, like bottom line, and everything about resolving the trigger is about bringing safety and integration within the nervous system. Anybody who tells you they can solve it within one session, they're lying, and or they're not experienced. Because like even when I started seeing my somatic experience therapist, I've been seeing her for over 12 months now. The first 3 sessions that I had with her, I was just talking. I'm like, this fucking isn't doing anything.
Yeah.
But the whole thing is she was getting me to feel safe and comfortable with her before she could go and do the deeper work, because at the time I was in such hypervigilance and my nervous system was so strung out. She was like, she couldn't even come near me, and even when she did, she's like, your body's lying to you. Like your mouth is lying and your body's saying something else entirely. Like,
yeah, your body doesn't lie.
Your body doesn't
That's
lie.
why you have to do the energy work. You have to do the cellular energy and soul work, not just talk it out.
No, it's not a talk thing.
It's not a talk thing.
And
talk thing is problem space. You want to dump your problem, but you want to go into solution. But you have to do it with the five dimensions of the body.
And you've
so
got to
important.
take the body with you. And this is the thing, like when I started doing this deeper nervous system work, there was like all the cool coaching stuff and all the education, everything there, and so it was like literally took it and boom, straight into my body. Because when you've got nervous system dysregulation, or for any of you that manifest in a way, it's like, oh great, oh crappy thing, oh great, oh crappy thing. I can guarantee you've got nervous system dysregulation and you've got triggers going on that you're not even aware of. And when your nervous system is dysregulated, you will always go after the thing that you want, often create it, but at the same time, you'll be creating a whole heap of shit at the same time. So it's when you're bringing these two together and then the body matches everything else, because the body is the representation of you in the physical 3D reality. That's when it all moves smoothly. So you've got to have it all be a match if you want to really move forward with grace, ease, and flow.
And that's when you're manifesting like a motherfucking queen.
Yes. Queen, and that's like when you're looking front stage, and if anybody was to come and hang out with you and see you behind stage, they would see the same.
And you know, probably the hardest thing for me doing all, because Kel and I are constantly working on ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
You should hear the conversations that we have.
Yeah.
Like,
behind the scenes.
Yeah, we should have behind the scenes. Like, babe, I had this thing came up and I went through this and I went through that. It's never about the fucking weather. No. Right? It's not about the weather.
Eyes glaze over, falls backwards off the chair.
And it's pretty cool because the more elevated, the more we go through our own shit, the more we can share with you. That's, you know, we'll take it for the team, we're good. But one of the big things for me is, especially when you are a workaholic and you're a people pleaser and all of that.
Oh, you're fucked.
100%. The hardest thing.
Born.
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah,
Flight and
born. That was me.
That's me, right? So I wasn't freeze. I would fucking fight you till the cows come home, or I would friend you, and I would lose myself in every relationship. I would lose myself in time. Mm-hmm. I would lose myself into, I'm like a chameleon. I could just morph into anything you wanted me to be.
Yeah, feel ya. Take me anywhere.
Yep.
To make the whole room love me.
Exactly right. I could have.
If they didn't go, that was anxiety.
I could have dinner with the queen, or, you know, afternoon tea with the pauper. It didn't matter. But this is the biggest thing that I found really hard. It's okay to not do anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay just to sit there and watch Netflix. It's okay to have a walk and not be on all the time. And there's one thing, I work with a lot of elite sports stars, a lot, big sports players. And they will train like anything on a Monday. What do they do on Tuesday?
Rest.
It's a rest day.
Yeah.
And when does the muscle build? Rest day. So I'm like, no wonder I'm burning out, because I'm just like, go 7 days a week. Even if I wasn't seeing clients, I'm still on social media, I'm still answering questions, I'm still, I need to create, I need to be doing this. Yeah. It might all stop. It won't stop. I promise, it does not stop.
I did all of, when I stopped drinking, I tried to fill it with that, and I was like, I've just stopped one thing.
I did the same.
Still running.
Yeah, me
time to stop. But
me too.
So this, let's kind of like pull it together. So what we invite you to is actually start noticing. So there was lots of little tells that we shared in terms of when your nervous system goes into dysregulation, and some of those more like unnoticed triggers, to actually bring some awareness into it, and start asking yourself the question, what's going on here? What do I need? What do I need for me to feel safe? And I'm going to, being that we're talking about like somatic stuff, we'll put a list of some resources in here. We'll put a list of some books that are like really powerful. You'll have our contact details to get in contact with us. In terms of like this somatic nervous system stuff, I am by no way, shape or form an expert in it. I just share very much from my own personal experience moving through it myself, and I'm still working through it every day. And it's about giving yourself the permission to take time to heal. Wow, that was a big burp, Teddy.
That was Kel. Teddy just burped.
Teddy the dog.
Teddy the dog just burped.
Our co-podcast host in the background, burping and snoring. So that's our invitation to you. And of course, like, come join us over in the Inspired Conversations Facebook group so we can keep the conversation going. Tell us what you loved about this. If you've got any questions about it, pop it in. You'll have all the resources, happy to help you, support you, direct you to wherever you need to be, because this has been by far one of the most powerful pieces of work I've ever committed myself to, is really understanding my nervous system, bringing regulation to it, and noticing not just the really obvious triggers, but the not so obvious. And it's totally changed my whole experience of life.
You're amazing.
You're amazing.
Oh, I love you. Oh, thanks, Kel.
Thank you.
Guys, we love doing this so much. We love it. We really want you to get as much out of it as you possibly can. Might need to listen to it a few times and let it sink in.
There's a lot in that one.
There's a lot. It's a lot. Guys, we will see you in the next podcast. We love you so much. Mwah. Bye.